Now let's go through the text that we were reading yesterday. Does everyone have the text? We're on page 80 in English, identifying the nature of suffering. So one lady is holding her book upside down. So in Tibet also, someone who was illiterate, and someone asked him, can you read? And he said, I cannot read, even if you write a big letter as big as a donkey's head. So for the meditation or cultivation of compassion, you need to identify what suffering is. And then the sentient beings, and to the sentient being who is suffering, you should have the feeling of that, how dear. So when we see someone really inflicted with suffering, pain, we feel rather pity and them. But when we think about this changeable suffering and the conditioned existential pervasive suffering, we don't really feel compassion to them. So if certain beings in the form and formless realms are free from the changeable suffering, and then yet they are not free from the conditioned existential suffering. So the Buddha, when he said you must acknowledge suffering or understand suffering, he was referring to this third type of suffering, the conditioned existential suffering. The compassionate mind has the nature of wishing all sentient beings to be free from suffering. Meditate on compassion for all sentient beings, because the beings in the three realms of existence are intensely tortured by the three types of suffering in various forms. I'll not read through the text because I may not be able to finish reading, but I'll just give a comment here and there. So here, the text gives the suffering of the lower realms, the animal, the hell realm, and so forth. On page 24, so it talks about the conditioned existential suffering. So, which is the suffering, which, in the sense of the having been brought by those of negative emotions, the disturbing emotions, the psychophysical aggregates, which are the results of these negative emotions and the karma. So that introduces you to the suffering. So in order to feel sentient beings dear to you, meditation on loving kindness begins with friends and people who you are fond of. It has the nature of wishing that they may meet with happiness on page 82. So with regards to the, in connection with this, there is the practice or the generation of Bodhichitta, which is generated by following the sevenfold instruction of cause and effect, which are recognizing our sentient beings as having been your mother, and feeling their kindness, and repaying their kindness, and then cultivating loving kindness, compassion, special resolve, extraordinary resolve, and then the bodhicitta comes. And for some people who are of more sharper faculty, is more effective to cultivate bodhicitta on the basis of exchanging and equaling self with others. So for cultivation of bodhicitta, there's no greater text than Bodhisattva Charya Avatara by Shantideva. After receiving teaching on this text from Lama Rinpoche Tenzin Gyaltsen of Kinor, it really helped me transform my mind. So he told me that this text was written in the 8th century. Since then, there has not been any greater text than Bodhisattva Charya Avatara, Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life, for the cultivation of bodhicitta on the basis of equaling and exchanging self and others. So this is a wonderful text. So by therefore, it says, having familiarized yourself with compassion as the basis, meditate on the awakening mind. So you will think that. Habituating yourself with compassion, you will gradually generate a spontaneous wish to liberate all sentient beings, and so, by understanding suffering of sentient beings and wishing to liberate them from that state, and you will also have this wish to help them out of the suffering. And therefore, having familiarized yourself with compassion as the basis, meditate on the awakening mind of bodhicitta. So bodhicitta is of two types. Conventional and ultimate. Conventional bodhicitta is the cultivation of the initial thought that aspires to attain unsurpassable and perfectly consummate Buddhahood in order to benefit all wandering beings, after having taken the vow out of compassion to release all of them from suffering. That conventional bodhicitta should be cultivated in a process similar to that described in the chapter on moral ethics. So, moral ethics in the Bodhisattva Bhumi by this chapter on moral ethics in Bodhisattva Bhumi, which was written by Master Asanga, generating this mind by taking the Bodhisattva vow before a master who abides by the Bodhisattva precepts. After generating the conventional awakening mind of bodhicitta, endeavor to cultivate the ultimate awakening of bodhicitta. So with regard to bodhicitta, so the mind or the wisdom realizing emptiness directly, which is complemented by bodhicitta, is called ultimate bodhicitta. So with that view or the insight into emptiness, in accordance with the tradition of or the intent of the Master Aryadeva and his disciples. So according to this tradition, even if you were to reach liberation, you must have the understanding of emptiness, and otherwise you will not reach that goal or even of arhatship. So that of the grasping or clinging to true existence in self and others and things is a negative emotion, according to the master tradition of Master Nagarjuna and his disciples. And then, coupled with this realization of emptiness, and coupling it with bodhicitta, you'll also be able to overcome that of the obscuration to knowledge, the total knowledge of everything. So, of course, the Shravakas and Pacceka Buddhas who are on the path of seeing and beyond have the understanding of emptiness, but this insight into emptiness is not called ultimate bodhicitta, because for ultimate bodhicitta, it must be this kind of realization of emptiness directly must be complemented by bodhicitta. So, complemented by bodhicitta, when you generate within yourself this realization of emptiness directly, that realization of emptiness is called ultimate bodhicitta. So this is taught very effectively here, emphasized. On page 28 in Tibetan, I don't know. So in the sutra, the heap of Jewel Sutra, single-pointed on page 85, wisdom. The single-pointed concentration is achieved by adhering to moral ethics. With the achievement of single-pointed concentration, you meditate on wisdom. Wisdom helps to attain a pure, pristine awareness. Through pure, pristine awareness, your moral conduct is perfected. The meditation on the faith in the Mahayana Sutra says, O child of noble family, if you do not abide by wisdom, I cannot say how you will have faith in Mahayana of the Bodhisattvas or how you will set forth in the Mahayana. O child of noble family, you should know that this is because Bodhisattvas' faith in Mahayana and setting forth in the Mahayana occurs as a result of contemplating the perfect Dharma and reality with a mind free of distraction. So here you need to actually discern what is reality. So with the help of the single-pointed concentration, when you develop this understanding into the that of the insight into emptiness, that coupled with that, then you will have what is known as the special insight. So special insight is an aspect of the critical analysis into the nature of things. So a yogi's mind, will be distracted to various objects if he cultivates only special insight without developing a calm, abiding mind. It will be unstable, like a butter lamp in wind, since clarity or pristine awareness will be absent. Then these two, special insight and calm abiding, should be cultivated equally. Therefore, the Sutra of Great and Complete Transcendence of Suffering says, hearers cannot see the Buddha nature because their single-point absorption is stronger and wisdom is weaker. And so, in order to cultivate and attain the calm abiding and special insight, the common prerequisites for meditating on calm abiding and special insight. Initially, a yogi should seek the prerequisites that can assist him in actualizing calm abiding meditation and special insight quickly and easily. So the place should be agreeable, and you should have agreeable friends. It should be quiet, serene. So a sound is considered to be, noise is considered to be an obstacle to single-pointed concentration. So when you, for example, when you sit in a meditation and your mind is calm, you hear some noise, you will be distracted. So when you are able to stay focused on the object, so that focused mind is not affected by these sensorial perceptions, because the sensorial perceptions are not active when your mind is totally focused on your chosen object. So an American friend of mine has meditated for 30 or 40 years, and this person is able to stay in single-pointedly focused on his object for 3 or 4 hours at a stretch. So when you become familiar, you will be able to develop such stability. So in order to develop stability, there are the two obstacles. One is that of distraction, And there also another aspect of distraction is called mental excitation, which is of an aspect which has that kind of a clinging or attachment. This is one obstacle. And then the second obstacle is you may be able to have some stability, but when the mind is not clear, there is some kind of dullness. It's not alert. There's some kind of a torpor or kind of a mental sinking, this is called. So if you, if mental sinking kind of accumulates in you, then your mind becomes rather duller. So one friend has told me that after doing his meditation retreat, he was in a confined retreat for 2-3 years. So after that, this person told me that the mind wasn't as alert and clever and clear as before. So this is an indication of having accumulated mental sinking. So while you are focused on the object, the focus that you have chosen, it may be clear, but still the mind is not alert. There's no intensity of alertness. So that is the subtle sinking. So you must be able to differentiate this with, differentiate it from single-pointed concentration. So when your mind is too elated, there is a danger of falling into the that of excitation. And when your mind is too downcast, there is the danger of mental sinking. And so this text mentions all these pitfalls of single-pointed concentration. On page 33, it mentions having a very comfortable seat. It mentions the 7 features of Vairochana. So your hands are in the meditation posture with the left hand below the right hand, and the two thumbs, the tip of the two thumbs touching, and you hold this your hand in this gesture and right at the navel, so that the pointed thumbs are at the navel. For this creates a circumstance, auspicious circumstance for the inner heat practice that you may do in future. And then your body, your spine should be straight, and then your mouth should be closed, and the teeth should be left rather normally. So for those who have no teeth, it's a different case. And then the tip of the tongue touches the upper palate, because this is to avoid dripping saliva when you sit in meditation for a long time. And your head should be slightly bent in, and your eyes are looking straight at the tip of the nose. So for the big nose, it's easier. There's no problem focusing your mind on the tip of your nose. But if you have small or flat nose, it will give pain in your eyes if you try to focus your mind on the tip of your nose. So you may just focus your eyes rather in front. And then the shoulders should be straightened. So in this posture, you could also do what is known as the breathing, 9 rounds of breathing for purification. So you breathe rather normally, not too loudly. And then it mentions a meditation cushion, which means that it should be higher at the rear side. And so that your spines could also be held straight. So usually we sit on cushions, which when we sit too long, they actually, when we call it, dense. You just sink into it. On page 34. So with mere calm abiding, you may be able to calm your mind to a certain extent. And when you're able to develop further, you may also be able to see the faults of the desire ram and the advantage of the form ram, and then develop the single-pointed samadhi, or which falls within these form rams. So for the non-Buddhist practitioners who have this experience, they usually consider the higher realms of existence within the planes of existence within the samsara as something that is worth achieving. And so they have this kind of concentration which falls within the form and formless realms. So I wished to meet non-Buddhist practitioners who, as I mentioned before here, that there are those who live in the Himalayas meditating. So I wish to have discussions with them during a Mahakumbha Mela. But the weather was not favorable. I couldn't go from Dharamsala to, was it Haridwar? Or Allahabad? Allahabad. So I really felt it was a great loss. And so this text mentions the shortcomings of mental excitation and mental sinking. On page 38, so by abiding and calm abiding, I will cultivate special insight and not be satisfied with mere calm abiding. So what is that suchness or reality of things? After realizing calm abiding, meditative special insights, thinking as follows: all the teachings of the Buddha are perfect teachings, and they directly or indirectly reveal and lead to suchness with utmost clarity. So the author of this text was Kamalashila, who was a follower of Madhyamaka philosophy, yet he was a follower of Madhyamaka philosophy, which still asserts some objective existence in things. Therefore, he uses the term ultimate. He qualifies suchness or emptiness with the term ultimate. If you understand suchness, you'll be free of all the nets of wrong views. So those Madhyamakas who assert objective existence in things, they use the term, when they say things have no inherent existence, they do not just say things have no inherent existence, they qualify it with things have no inherent existence ultimately. So what is suchness like? It is the nature of all phenomena that ultimately they are empty of the self of person and the self of phenomena. So he qualifies this emptiness with the ultimate, the term ultimate. This is realized through the perfection of wisdom and not otherwise. So while asserting objective existence in things, the master here, the author here also does not assert or accept any external existence of things. So he's being a follower of Yogacara, Savatantrika, Madhyamaka. So in this 10 grounds sutra, so there is this mention of things having no, merely being a reflection of the subjective mind, and there's no existence external to the mind. So although the things that appear to be external to our mind are essentially in the same nature of the mind, and there's no external, yet they do appear like that. So this philosophical tradition says that the subjective mind and the objects are non-dual. They are devoid of duality. So therefore, due to grasping tightly and incorrectly at such things as form and so forth, or beginner's time, the mind itself appears to ordinary people as form and so forth, as separate and external, yet just like the appearance of, on page 95, appearance of form and so forth that are perceived in a dream. And this paragraph ends with this line, this sentence. Thus, he would specifically analyze the nature of mind. Such a person analyzes in this way. So having rejected any external existence, and then also saying that the mind has no true existence, in the ultimate sense, the mind too cannot be real. Just the next paragraph after that. On page 43, so on page 97, it says, in this way, when the person does not firmly apprehend the entity of a thing as ultimately existing, having investigated it with wisdom, the practitioner engages in non-conceptual single-pointed concentration, and thus the identitylessness of all phenomena is realized. So early on in this text, there was the mention of the method part of the practice, aspect of the practice, and so like love, compassion, bodhicitta, and so forth. And then here, there's a mention of these 6 perfections. So I will not read through the text, but so having cultivated calm, abiding mind, while being able to maintain your mind in that and being able to, at the same time, do analysis, critical analysis into the nature of things, you develop the special insight into emptiness. That is to say, how things actually are. And then, with the help of Bodhichitta, when you develop that insight into emptiness through the power of meditation, then you have entered into the path of preparation. And when you are able to do away with all dualistic appearance with regard to emptiness, and your mind is totally absorbed in emptiness directly, your mind, you have entered the path of seeing. And then within the path of seeing and the path of meditation, until you reach the path of, up to the seventh ground, you put effort in overcoming the negative emotions, the kleshas, and when you reach the path of the eighth ground of bodhisattvas, that you have reached a state where you have completely overcome the negative emotions, and then you are left with the obscuration to knowledge, and therefore the grounds, the bodhisattva grounds 8th, 9th, and 10th are called pure grounds. Below that, the bodhisattva grounds are called impure grounds. And at the end of the 10th ground of bodhisattva, the bodhisattva's mind, this meditative mind, becomes the antidote, the final antidote to the subtlest obscuration to knowledge. And right after that, the next moment is the Buddha's meditative absorption mind, which is totally absorbed in emptiness. And then from then on, the Buddhas are able to appear in, perform the enlightened deed with effortlessly. And so they are able to teach according to the nature and the taste and interest and mental dispositions of the different beings. So this is how the Buddhas help sentient beings by giving them teaching, so that the teaching with regard to what they need to avoid and what they need to adopt in their practice. So of course, the Buddhas may be able to, there may be people who may be able to give teachings, like Bodhisattvas, may be able to give teachings out of compassion, out of kindness, but because they are not able to read the person's interest, mental dispositions completely, they are not able to help them completely, effortlessly, and therefore the Buddhas are the ones who are able to do that and help sentient beings by knowing their mental disposition and help them effortlessly. At the end, whatever merit I derive with the exposition of this middle path, I dedicate for all beings to actualize the middle path. The second part of the stages of meditation by Acharya Kamalashila is completed. So I'll just start with the 37 practices of Bodhisattvas. So the stages of meditation was authored by an Indian teacher, Indian scholar, and this text, the 37 practices, was written by a Tibetan scholar. He was called Gyalsey, which Gyalsey doesn't here mean a prince, a king's son, but The title refers to someone who, Gyalwa here refers to the Buddhas, and because he became a Bodhisattva, he was renowned as a Bodhisattva at that time. He was a contemporary of Budun Tamji Khenpa, the omniscient Budun Rinchen Drop. So he was someone who was regarded as a Bodhisattva at that time. So he also has the title Ngulchu because he was meditating. He lived in his hermitage in the place Ngulchu. I have seen an explanation or a commentary on some classic texts by him on ornament of the Mahayana Sutras and others. So because he was a Bodhisattva, he had Bodhisattva, Bodhichitta in his mind. It is said that he was some birds and a wolf or a fox lived beside him without harming each other. And so one time Budun was sick, he had some pain in his hand, and he told Gyalsey Thokme Sangpos, "You are a Bodhisattva, please heal me." And he showed it, and then he blowed on Budun's hand, and it was helpful. So because this text has basically 37 verses with reference to the practice of Bodhisattvas, so therefore the title 37 Practices of Bodhisattvas. Homage to Avalokiteshvara, I pay constant homage through my 3 doors to the Supreme Teacher and Protector Cherish, who, while seeing all phenomena like coming and going, makes single-minded works single-mindedly for the good of living beings. So Master Nagarjuna pays homage to the Buddha in his Mula Madhyamaka Karika from the point of view of the Buddha having taught dependent origination, which is free from the 8 extremes of eternalism and so forth. So what this means is that the things have no independent existence. If there's no action, you cannot talk about an actor. So when you search for things, the designated things, nothing can be pinpointed as being this or that. And therefore, you are free from all mental constructs. And therefore, you need to, destroy all objectification, reification of things. One scholar says that there are things do not have any existence, objectively independent existence at all. So the clouds of the diversities of things that form in the sky do not have any existence when you analyze it with your critical mind. The whole cloud is dispersed. So Master Tsongkhapa also says, talks about having reached the point where you have completed the analysis into the correct view of emptiness. So while seeing all phenomena coming and going and so forth, with reference to that, His Holiness was talking about emptiness. And perfect Buddha, source of all happiness, well-being, arise from the comprehension of the excellent teachings, and this depends on knowing the practices. So I'll explain the practice of Bodhisattvas. So having gained this rare ship of freedom and fortune, here think and meditate unwaveringly night and day in order to free yourself and others from the ocean of cyclic existence. This is the practice of Bodhisattvas. attached to your loved ones, you are stirred up like water. Hating your enemies, you burn like fire. In the darkness of confusion, you forget what to adopt and what to discard. Give up your homeland. This is the practice of Bodhisattvas. So, verse number 3 also refers to that of the impermanence and death. And loved ones who have long kept company will part. When you rely on them, your faults come to an end, and your good qualities grow like the waxing moon. Cherish your spiritual teachers even more than your body. This is the practice of Bodhisattvas. So with regard to relying on one's spiritual gurus, masters, there are 10 qualifications of a guru according to Sutra Alamkara. Particularly as a teacher who is a teacher of Mahayana must have these 10 qualifications mentioned in Sutra Alamkara. In the great treatise on the path of the stages of path to enlightenment, Master Tsongkhapa goes through the qualifications of a teacher and the qualifications of a student, and then how the student should rely on the teacher. So in the Lamrim tradition, we usually come across teachings where it's said that the Lama must be seen as or regarded as a Buddha, and there are reasons to do that and so forth. But it's important for us to know the qualifications of the Lama. One person from mainland China about many years ago told me that there were many people coming from Tibet to mainland China, proclaiming to be king of dharmas. And then the Chinese disciples, these devotees, go to them with the offering of money in a red envelope, which is a tradition in their country. And then after a few weeks, what they find is these so-called Dharmarajas have come to China for money and women. So he told me, if I could do something about this, then I told him that your people should not just believe these people. So if someone is really able to give teachings which are helpful, and if they have these qualifications mentioned in the Sutra Alamkara, they can be considered true lamas, and otherwise not, even if they may have big estates and the householding of the lamas and so forth, big names. For example, Zapedu Rinpoche was a great master. And so I usually say that between lamas and tulkus, the reincarnations, there are four relationships, four-part relationship. So there are those who are not lamas but tulkus, and there are those who are tulkus but not lamas, and there are those who are both, and then those who are none. So I told this Chinese, I cannot do anything from here, I'm in India, but you must learn these qualifications and then check these people who come to you proclaiming to be Dharmarajas. So even in Mongolia there are such people. So you cannot just take somebody as your Lama, just because they say they are the Lamas or teachers. But you should check whether they qualify the 10 criteria given in Sutra Alamkara. And then you should actually learn these qualifications that are given in the Sutras, Alamkara, Mahayana Sutra Alamkara, and then check these people. So until you find them to be reliable, as to be considered or regarded as your Lama, you could have discussions with them on the Dharma. So I have just covered the part in this text which deals with the practices pertaining to the beings of small capacity, and then the beings of intermediate capacity and so forth I'll cover tomorrow. This is the praise, prayer of the words of truth. Magnificent masters of the ocean, of an ocean of limitless good qualities, those, the Sugatas of the 3 times, your children, disciples, looking upon destitute migrators, migrating beings like your own child, please pay attention to my true words of sorrow. Expand the doctrine of complete, perfect, capable one, which removes the suffering of cycling existence in solitary peace for abundant, extensive welfare and happiness in Jambudvipa, this world. Increase the 10 kinds of Dharma contacts of all those learned and accomplished holders of the doctrine. In short, may all the good fruits of the extensive prayers to fully protect the land of snow made by the powerful protector Chandraseki in the presence of the Buddhas and their children appear soon in here and now. By the auspicious interdependence of profound suchness and appearance of suchness and emptiness. By the power of the 3 sublime ones, the 3 jewels, compassion, and the force of true words, by the power of the truth of the infallible action and result, may our prayer of truth be fulfilled soon and without obstacle. This is a Mandala Offering, visualizing the cosmos with the Mount Meru, there's 4 continents, the sun and the moon, visualized as Buddha filled and offering up, and then may all sentient beings enjoy the pure field. La Ju Bara Shu Itam Guru Ratna Mandal Kamni Ataya Mi.
比较辛苦。